Hope all of you are able to see my screen. I hope all of you can hear me. Can I have a quick confirmation, please? Yeah. So we have completed demographics and we have also completed the schedule set. So today we are going to start with the next main thing, which is nothing but subject elements. Okay, so we are going to start with subject elements. This is equally a very important data set because it is going to give you the information about all the elements in your clinical trials. So you have to be very careful and you have to be very responsible while creating this particular one. All right. So let's work on this particular one. Once we complete this particular one, we will be good to go with CO. Once we complete CO, hope we will be good with the special purpose domain. So from today onwards, I can say that the moment we connect to the class, one domain you can complete in each day. So it will not be taking any, it won't be a time-taking process. That's what I'd like to say. All right. So let's start with subject elements domain. It is simple, at the same time easiest one. So just like your subject visits, it is also going to have limited number of variables, and those limited number of variables we are going to discuss now. So first of all, what is the subject elements? Can someone please tell me what exactly it is going to deal with? You can go to at any point of time, if you get any doubt or anything, you can go to your standard implementation guide. If you go to your implementation guide, you can see all the details here. Okay, this is your subject elements domain, right? So the main importance of this particular data set is it can give you the information about the subject progress in each of the element. In each element of the clinical trial. That is the reason it is main important. The importance of this particular domain is it is going to talk about subject progress in each element of clinical trial. So what exactly it is going to capture? If someone asks you what is going to be captured here, this domain primarily captures about three things. It captures number one, start and end date of each element, start date and time, or start date, or I can say time, and end date and time of each element for each subject. This is the reason why this is very, very important. So what it is talking about? So subject is the one which is nothing but the patient. So for each patient, for each element, what is going to be the start date and end date? So that is the reason it is important. All right. In addition to that, it is also going to capture information about what exactly the element that is happening, that is element details. Either it is a screening, or it is going to be a randomization, or it is going to be the treatment, or it is going to be the follow-up. In general, what is going to be the basic flow? The flow is going to be like this. So first, we are going to have the screening. After the screening, you are going to have the randomization. After the randomization, you are going to have your treatment. You may have one or more treatment as well. So all the treatment details. And finally, you are going to have the details about your follow-up. So this particular domain will capture all these start dates and end dates. At the same time, what is going to be the element and what is going to be the element. So one of the most important domain. Then how the nature is. The nature of this particular one is one record. It is going to have one record per subject. If it is a demographic domain, just one record per subject. If it is going to be a SV, that is subject visits, one record per subject per visit. If it is going to be element, then it is going to be one record per subject per element. It is going to be per record, per subject, per element. Correct? That is the nature. Then we will also discuss about what is going to be the topic variable. What do you mean by topic variable? Which will primarily focus on what is this particular domain is all about. So the topic variable is ETCD, which is nothing but element code. Element code is going to be a topic variable. And we also discuss about the identifier variables, right? So what do you mean by identifier variables here? Guys, here onwards, the drill is going to be the same. For every domain, we are going to talk about what is the nature, what is this particular domain is all about, what is going to be captured here, what is the topic variable, what are my identifier variables, what is the list of variables that should be part of this particular domain. For each variable, are there any calculations are there? What are those calculations? It is going to be the common drill for all the domains hereafter. So I'm going to give you project one as I said to you today in front of you. I'm going to upload it. Once I complete that, you can see your demo. Sorry, you can see your raw data. You can see your how the data should be. Correct? So you need to create all the variables as per your SDTM implementation guide. So once you create that, then it understands that any raw data set given to you, you know how to create all the SDTM related variables for that particular data set. Similarly, you need to do it for all the domains. I'm giving demographics domain as a assignment or project one. Then it is your task to go with at the end of each of the domain, you need to prepare the respective variables and you need to drop an email to me saying that, hey, this is going to be the raw data set, this is going to be my final data set as per SDTM. By end of SDTM, you should be able to send me all the codes related to your all the domains. Is that clear, guys? How we want to progress? Everyone, can I have a quick confirmation? Right. Under the identifier variables, you know what are the identifier variables? By default, you know three. What are them? One is going to be study ID, study identifier. It is common. Second one is going to be domain. What domain it is. Then use subject identifier, unique subject identifier. These are common. Then you're going to have another thing, you can call it as ST sequential, subject element sequential number. All right, this is a derived variable. It is a sequence number. These are going to be your identifier variables. Right now, let's go with the list of variables, all the variables, and we try to understand how each variable is going to work. Right. First, let's start with study ID. You know what is study ID is, but still I'm writing one more time. It is nothing but study identifier. Then you're going to have domain, which is going to be domain abbreviation. Correct? What is domain abbreviation for this? What is domain abbreviation for this? It is going to be SD. Right. Then we are going to have USUBJ ID. The reason again and again why we are writing this particular one will be, we will be familiar with the terminology. This is nothing but unique subject identifier. What is that? This will be nothing but, just give me a second. I just thought I forgot to record it now. So unique subject identifier. And we all know that it is going to be a derived variable. Can you tell me, guys, quickly how you're going to derive this particular one? It is going to be a concatenation of three things. What are they? Concatenation of three variables, which are nothing but. So, what are those three variables?
Yeah, study ID,
Study identifier, wonderful.
site ID, yeah, and patient subject ID.
Which is another thing is going to be subject identifier. SUBJ. Wonderful. Something wrong with. Yep. All right. Then the next thing is going to be, these are common variables. That's the reason again and again we are talking about this particular one. All right. So now let's talk about one of the most important variable and which is very specific to this particular domain, which is nothing but SC sequential. This is nothing but simple sequence number. This is nothing but a sequence number. I'll talk about this particular one in a while. Just in 2 to 3 minutes, I'm going to talk about this particular one. Then I'm going to have something called element. Element is nothing but it is name or description of the element. Element is nothing but the phase, I can call it as. Correct? Can I call that one? It is a phase or what treatment is going on, all these things. Correct? It is nothing but name of the element or description of the element. If someone asks me, Murli, can you give me some examples for this particular one? I can say that few of the examples for this are screening. Screening is going to be one of the phase. Randomization, right? Treatment one. Treatment one. Treatment two. You can also call it as follow-up. All these are going to be your examples for your element. Similarly, every element is going to have element code etcd, which is your topic variable already talked about. So what is this particular one? This is nothing but element code. It is nothing but your short name for element. It is a short name for element, right? So how it looks like? If someone asks me the examples for this particular one, I can simply say that these are going to be screening, SDR. All right, I can call it as randomization. You can call it as treatment one, treatment two, follow up. Like this, these are nothing but your short names for your element code. All right, so now let's talk about how your sequence is going to be. From where this particular sequence will be brought it up. So how you are going to bring this particular C's. Okay, so again, if you look into this particular one, if you go to your subject elements domain, you can see sequence is nothing but a sequence number. It is given to ensure uniqueness of the subject records within your domain. Should be assigned to be consistent chronological order. Should be consistent with the chronological order. So let me talk about this a little. For an example, I'm going with all the example data set. That's a sample data set. So the sample data set looks like this. So I'm going to have some patient ID, SUBJ ID, and then let's say that I'm going to have element, then followed by element, we are going to have element code, followed by element code, we are going to have the screen, that is sequential number. So let's see how it looks like. All right. So subject ID is going to be 111. Then the element is going to be, let's say, any element will start with the screening. Correct? Any subject, the phase will start with screening. I can simply call it as a SCR, that is going to be a screening. Now let's leave like this for sequential number. We talk about the sequential number later. So what is the nature I talked about? Each subject, each element. Correct? One record per subject per element. So for this particular subject, only screening is completed. After the screening for the same one, we are going with the randomization. So for the randomization again, we can go with, let's say, RU1 again. Let's talk about this sequence later. Again, for the same subject, we started with treatment 1, PRT1, For the same subject, we also have another treatment, treatment number 2, TRT2. For the same subject, we also have something called the last one, which is nothing but follow-up. Right? We are just going with the follow-up. Yes. Now, let's say there is another patient. For this particular patient, he is not 111. Let's say he is 222. For this particular guy, there is only one treatment. There is no treatment number 2. Now go with your sequence. It is a chronological order to represent uniquely about your element. So this is the first treatment, right? I'm calling this as 1. Second treatment, that is second element. Third element. Fourth element. Fifth element. That is nothing but there are 5 elements which are happened for subject number 1. So for each of the element, I'm giving a sequential order of the number. So my sequential order for my sequential number for this particular subject is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Similarly, 1, 2, 3, and finally 4. Are you able to understand how this looks like? Can I have a quick confirmation from everyone? Are you able to understand this? All we are doing is we try to understand how this looks like, right? All we are doing here is we are not doing anything fancy. We try to understand from the basics because we know the basics very well. So from the basics, we try to go one by one. So first we collected the details from the subject. We collected all the details related to the demographics. We call it as a DM domain. Then each patient will come for different visits. We call that as a subject visits. Then each subject will undergo multiple elements in the clinical trials. So we are calling that as the subject elements. So we try to understand what are those elements are. We try to understand what are those elements are. Right? Even those elements, we try to go as simple as possible. We are not going in detail. Right? So that too, in a very simple way, we are going with. Correct? And finally, we are trying to understand what are the various derived variables of this particular domain. So first we start with the sequential number. We really cannot call it as a sequential one, but what we can say is this is the one which I can use it for. This is the one which I can use it for assigning the numbers. The number assignment is happening in the chronological order. Is that correct? All of you are able to understand this? We are trying to go as simple as possible, nothing complex. If anyone find anything difficult, please let me know. Is this understandable, guys, up to this? Any questions from anyone? Can I have a quick confirmation, guys? Are you able to follow this? Wonderful. Right. Cool. Wonderful, guys. Now this is your example, correct? Maybe here need to change a little. Let me change it. All right. So now we also know what is going to be a sample data set. So simply your first is going to be domain, second one is going to be study ID and domain. Then you're going to have your maybe I can put this top element. After the element, you are going to have element code. After the element code, you have something called your sequential number. So for all these to cover, we just have given one simple data set. Now let's try to understand this. So what is the next variable? The next variable is going to be, once we know element code and all, we need to understand one of the very important topic, and that particular topic or that particular variable is nothing but it is actually coming from the TE domain. From where it is coming? It is actually coming from the TE domain. So From the TE domain, you can call this as a element order, TA, that is your trailer, TAETORD, that is TAETORD. So TA is nothing but your trilam domain. Okay, there is a question. Real-time project sequence number will be given at last. Why? Simple. Here, the sequence number I have given manually. Here I have entered manually. If it is going to be a real-time thing, just give me a second. SAS who SAS Ole. SAS just give me a second. I forgot this particular URL. I need to go to this. SAS on demand access now. Yeah, I got it. Let me do this. So all I'm trying to say here is, here you created this manually. Here you created this actually manually. But in an ideal case scenario, you are actually going to create this particular sequence number based on 3 variables. Let me explain that. In real time, we will create sequence number. We'll create sequence number based on 3 variables. So what are they? The 3 variables are going to be, number 1, your unique subject identifier, USUBJ ID. Number 2, your element code. Number 3, SCSDTC. I'll tell you what exactly is this. This is nothing but start date. So from the demographic domain, you have RFSTDTC. From subject visit domain, you have SVSDTC. Here, you are going to have your domain start date. That is nothing but your start date of your thing. What exactly the start date is going to be? If someone asks you, you can say that it is going to be subject element start date and time in characters. SESDTTC. These 3 are the variables which we are going to use it to create your sequence number. So let me create one to you and I can show that to you. So why it is important. So here, let me use the same data set that I have here. This one. Maybe I can use this. Just 2 minutes, please. I will create it. Yes, only these. We don't have this number because we need to create these numbers. Correct? Only these 3 values will be there. So let's copy this. This is your data. So data, all I want to create is going to be, let's say, sequential number. That is what we are creating, right? So it is subject elements data set. I'm just calling it as SE. So my data lines is going to be this. In addition to this, we also going to have something here that is nothing but your start date. That is nothing but your start date. For an example, the start date is like this. So 2022 04/10. So it actually started on this particular date. Screening happened for 4 days. So by 14th, my randomization started. Then by 16th, by 15th, 2 days it happened. By 16th, treatment 1 started. By 23rd, my treatment end is started, completed. Then the follow-up is actually on 25th, or let's say 30th of this particular month. Then again for the second one also, we ideally started on, let's say, first of this particular month. Screening happened for 1 week, 07. First treatment happened on 9th of this particular month. Follow-up is on after 2 weeks of the time, so 16 and 23. This is my data. Okay, now let's read these variables. Input. The first one is going to be my subject ID, SUBJ ID. It is going to be my SUBJ ID, which is going to be a, let's say, character. Then I have second one, which is nothing but my element value, element, which is dollar, let's say 20 dot, minimum 20 like this there. Then the third one is going to be my element code, etcd. My etcd is also a character. The next one is going to be subject element, start, date, and time in character. Right? So which is in which format? ISO 8610 DA dot. Am I correct? Is this the right format? Can someone tell me? I randomly given one format.
01 8601
8601 DA. All right. So now, can I use the same format here as the format as well? Done. Can I run this? It is taking some time today. Let's run this. So now you have your data. Something went wrong with SDTM. It is not following the proper order. Maybe you can have it here, right? You can simply get this particular one. IS not 0, IS 1. Only this. Last week also I did the same mistake. Only one read properly. How about others? When it comes to ETCD, I need to give this one. Still screening is there, SCR is also fine, but SC, SDTTC, it is not reading properly. Let's see what went wrong. SC, SDTTC 2024 0410. Is it right only, right? 0414. Let's just check this. IS 8601 DA. No spaces, nothing. What is going wrong? Invalid data for SC SDTC in line number 79. What is the format, guys? Are we going with the wrong format? No, right? It is 2022 0414. I'm going with the same format only.
Really, can you read as like YYMMDD10 dot?
Yes, we can do. Yes, we can do definitely, but I'm trying to understand why it is not showing. Yeah. It should write, because when you are going with the right data, it's supposed to read the right things. Why it is not going? You can see that for the last one, it is reading properly with no issues for the last one. But the problem is coming for the remaining ones. Okay, let's say I'm using dollar here just to make sure the spaces. Because the problem is here, because this 20 RU union 20 is also coming. So there is something wrong with this. Okay, so let's not waste time. Let's change it, because there is some encoding issues. We really don't know what exactly happening there. So what we can do is I simply change this one to the delimiter. The delimiter I'm going to change. I'm going to replace this particular spaces with the comma. Most of the times it will work, guys, because when you're copying from text pad or anything, this is one of the common problems that we face. In that particular case, 90% of the cases, the problem will be fixed if you just replace your spaces with any other delimiter. 90% of the cases. So I'm hoping that it will get resolved now. And another thing, maybe you can also have some spaces at the end. That also we need to take care. See, here also space is there. Space, space, no space. Now, I just change it to, I just change this particular one to the delimiter as, comma, in file data lines DLM is equal to, comma. See, this is how it is. 90% of the time it will work, right? So I also have a gut feeling now, even if I remove the spaces, it will work. So even if I remove this, it will work. The reason is, before, you can see that at the end there are a lot of spaces. I believe that's the reason for it. So just to check, because I won't be peaceful until and unless I understand what is the issue here. So let me just use the space as is. I'm just going back to the previous one. Right. So it is the previous one. Now I'm just removing this delimiter as usual, and I'm going to run this again. Still I'm able to read it. The reason is, at the end we have some spaces. So when we copy from here, you can see this space will be there right after this. The space also will get copied. Can you see this? After STR there are spaces. Reunion there are spaces. Ideally this is not space, it is actually a tab. The tab got copied, and that encoding will be resulting us to see the wrong data. Okay. Now come back. So now what I need the sequence number. When I consider the sequence number primarily will be calculated based on subject ID, which is nothing but unique subject ID you need to go with. So here I'm not going with that element site ID and also followed by your subject identifier, sorry, your thing, this subject name and all. I'm not going with that. But if you ideally want it as per the regular one, I will add these details also. Just give me a second. I'll add these four. So here it is. So here we have subject ID. My domain name is going to be SE. My site ID is equal to this. Automatically, my subject identifier is going to be this one. So let's run this. Then I also have the subject identifier. So what is going to happen now? So if I want to create my sequence number, I need to consider three variables. What are those three variables? Unique subject identifier, followed by what is my element code, and also subject element start date in date and time in characters. SC, SDT, TC. These are the three variables I need to consider. So my data set, whatever is going to be subject element data set here, sort it now. Proc sort data is equal to this. What are the variables? By these three variables. Done? So why I'm doing it? I want to create the sequence. To create the sequence, I need to sort them on. Once I sort this particular one, I'll say that data, my subject element's final data set is nothing but set SE followed by create by variables on these three. Create by variables on these three. And then proceed with first dot and last dot. If first dot of SCDTTC, then SCSUQ, that is sequential number, is equal to 1. Else, my sequential number plus 1. Right? And run. Now you can see that it will be auto-populated at the end. What happened? I haven't used the retain, correct? else sequential plus 1 retake. Retime SEQ. There's a mistake, sorry. We sorted on these two, but while going with that, your SDTC is not same, right? It will be changing, right? It will be changing from one to other. So how come you're going to generate the number? While sorting, I'm going to sort the data based on these three. But while calculating your subject ID, while calculating this, I'm only going to use unique subject identifier. Why? Because my element code will be different. My SDTC also will be different. Only this one will be the same. Subject ID alone is going to be the same. That is, unique subject ID is alone going to be the same. The rest of the values will be changing. So I'm going to sort it on these two to get the chronological order. Once the chronological order is there, once we get the chronological order, then we are going to do this. We are going to do this based on your sequential number. Now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, who is this Raja? Did you get the answer why we are going to have it? But you need to do some small changes here also, because every time it is not going to be a ETCD, because ETCD you need to assign properly. So here I randomly selected it. That's the reason I can see I can have my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. Got it, guys? To create a sequence, I'm going to do this particular one.
Really, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Why the screening should be 1, right? Why the follow-up is 1?
Oh, that's what I told you, right? The last statement is that here, for our understanding, I have given the element codes like this, right? So to create the chronological order.
But should you
not
not sort
no,
it
no, no,
by the date? SCSDTC?
no.
Should you not sort the data by two variables? Use subject, then SCSDTC.
Okay, we can also do that particular one. But in the real case, we always go with the element code as well. Here, the element codes are not in a way I am describing. Here, it is regular. I just have given like this. In the real case, it is going to be different. See this.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Got it?
Yes,
so
thank you.
You can go in a different order, right? But again, the sequential number is a chronological one. You can create it. Otherwise, you can also do one thing. Simply, you can just do it only on these two variables. Let's say unique ID and subject SESTDTC. In our case, just to make sure everything is proper, only on these two you can create it, and you can create your sequence also. If you do that particular one, even in your case, you are going to get the correct sequence numbers, because you're not sorting anything on it. You are simply sorting on the dates. So dates will be always proper. You can also do that. Clear? So I'll add this particular one just to avoid the confusion. Let's remove this particular one. Let's go only with the two also. Most of the time your sponsor will provide the details, because it is actually populating from your TE domain also. Let's say example for populating sequential number. Here is the code. You can follow this particular. So I just have updated the code as per the second one, versus Mohandi. So you can use this. Is that clear now? No confusion to any one of us? Questions? Any questions from anyone? Right. Wonderful. Now, The next thing is going to be, this is the most important thing. This one will be called it as element order. What is that? Element order. This particular one, to be precisely, what exactly mean by element order? It is as per the plan, that is planned order of element within the arm. Mean to say, this primarily comes from this particular one, primarily comes from not your SE domain directly. It is actually derived from your other domain, which will be called it as TE. Based on TE domain element. From here, we are going to get this particular one. This particular one has a very specific details. Mean to say, this is also again a chronological order. You can see it is actually picked up from your TE domain. Let's just take this particular example. I don't know how far it will come, but let me try. Yeah. So here you can see that this is my row. Row is not required anyways. Let's go with unique subject identifier. So for our ease of understanding, let's go with all these are ones. All these are going to be twos. So here, if everything captured properly, what is that? If everything captured properly. So now you can see, here I have the details about sequential number. If you look into this element code, my element code is like this. First one is screening. Second one is IV. This is IV dosage. Third one is going to be oral dosage. Fourth one is going to be a follow-up. The same is the case with the patient too as well. And if you look into the sum of the dates here, this is very, very important. We haven't discussed about this one, SCUPDES. I'll talk about that later. So let's go with the remaining ones. Just a second. This will be blank. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 3, 2, and 4. And then this is going to be my approach. Just give me a second, let me put it properly and then I can explain you. So this is treatment number 1, this is treatment number 2, this is going to be treatment number 1, this is going to be treatment. Yeah. So this is your table actually. So this one I'll talk a little later. What is the meaning of it? This is something broad. I'll talk about this a little later. Okay. So now look into this particular one carefully. Look into this particular one carefully. So first one, when it comes to the screening, a subject ID 111 has come for the screening. So the approach is going to be screening. The element code for this particular one here is screen. He actually come for screening on this particular date. SDTM. This will be called it as, maybe I need to talk about this as well. SDTM is nothing but, it is the start date. The name itself is telling you it is a start date. What exactly is that particular start date? That is subject element start date and time in character. Remember, your end date is going to be the same. That is nothing but your subject element end date and time in character. But you need to understand one thing. We don't capture SCENDTC for every element. We don't. What actually we do? whatever is going to be the start date of next element is going to be the end date of this particular element. Meaning, if I come back to this, only for the screening, when the first time the subject comes for the screening, that is nothing but my start date. But you can see this end date, right? For this particular element, the end date is there, right? It is not captured in the screening. No. It is actually the start date of your IV. Can you see that? For all the treatments, remember, for all the treatments, both time and date need to be captured. For all the treatments, both date and time need to be captured. Note. What is that? For all treatments, both date and time need to be captured. If any place, if you don't create your date and time, if you don't capture your date and time for your treatments, that is treatment phases or treatment elements, if you don't do that particular one, it is going to create a lot of ambiguity. It is very difficult. There is a lot of ambiguity will be created if you don't capture your end date and time or start date and time properly. That will become a headache to the sponsor. There you are going to have an effect on your TAET order. If you don't capture these details, later part it is going to affect your element order. Even in the standard implementation guide, it will be properly mentioned. I'll tell you one of the things. For anyone, you can see. Maybe in the next example, I'll tell you that. For now, you can go with this. So for every element, we need to, for every subject, for every element, there is going to be a sequential number and there is going to be a order number, element order number. So what is this element order number is? And you can see that here the element order number is changed. Correct? What is this? Both of them I'm going to talk about. So now you can see I told you a condition here for all the treatment elements, both date and time need to be captured. You can see the IV start and date is going to be the screen end date and time. Oral treatment start date and time is going to be the IV treatment end time. For follow-up, because 99.99% the follow-ups are going to be completed in the same day. So you can see the last treatment end date, the follow-up start date, and the follow-up end date, 99.99% is going to be the same. Is that clear so far? Yes or no? Every one of you, are you able to understand it? How to capture your start date and time for your subject element and end date and time for the subject elements. Is that clear to everyone? Then I have a very quick confirmation. Right. The next one you need to understand here is why here the element order is different. See, my sequence is 2. My element is going to be 3. Why? Even for that, there is a reason. This is very, very important. That is, this particular subject 790, in our case, the subject 222, he is not treated properly. Why? He is supposed to give a drug. You can see here. The subject entered into the element before the oral element. You say, just give me a second. Here you can see. The subject entered into the IV. The subject entered the IV element before the oral element. But the planned order of element for the subject was oral, then IV. Meaning, for this particular guy, for element number for subject 222, my order should be like this. For 222. First, I want to go for the screening. After the screening, I want to go with oral. After the oral, I want to give IV. After the IV, I want to go for the follow-up. So where I have decided this? This has been decided as per your trial arm. In the trial arm, it is mentioned like this. But what happened with the sequence? For him, the treatment happened in a wrong way. So first screening happened, no changes in that particular one. But after the screening, instead of oral, for him, IV happened just like your previous subject. After the IV oral happened, after the oral follow-up happened. So treatment number 1 and treatment number 2 are interchanged. Treatment number 1 and treatment number 2 are interchanged. So if any changes happens, those changes can be identified here. Is that understandable, everyone? I'm just going with the example. Here is going to be the example. In this example, we can clearly understand that for these, the subject 2, what happened? Instead of going with the oral treatment first, they have given the IV treatment. Because of this particular reason, the trial arm details is different from what happened within your trial. So in the element, something else happened than the plan. Those details will be captured here. That is the reason it is very, very important. So here you can see for triple two, planned is different from actual. That is, planned arm is different from actual arm. And that is the reason, your sequential number and element order will not match. This is normal. This is usual case. That's the reason when we are giving the details to the final collection team, we are going to provide the details about your TA, TE, TV, SV, and SE together. All the trial domains as well as the subject elements and subject visits domain details we will provide together. Only then they will get a clarity of this. Is that clear? Is that clear? Everyone? Is that understandable? Right? You can also see these details here on the top. If you go to the start of this particular one, right? It is really, really important to go with this particular one, because each subject, what is planned, how the execution is happening, where the differences are happened, all these things will be applicable here. Especially the subject elements is very, very important for crossover teams, crossover study. So we have two studies, right? Parallel study as well as crossover study. For crossover study, it is very, very important. All of you are able to follow this? Can I have a very quick confirmation? Yes or no? Right? You can ask me, Murli, where this mentioned. Can you see here? This is from the demographics domain. For the demographics domain, you can see the arm. The planned arm is oral first, IV next. But what happened here? It becomes IV first, oral next. That's the reason your sequence is different from the trial arm order. Is that clear? So Sanchi, you asked me on Friday only how your approach and your element code will be, your element order will be important.
Yes,
This is how
Murli.
now you understand?
Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful. So can I go with another example? This is first example,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this is for the first one. So if everything is proper, this is the one. Let's go with the second example, the example number 2. So to explain this particular one, what is this? So subject, start date, end date we have discussed, correct? Then we are going to discuss about the next one, this SEUPDES. UP stands for unplanned, subject elements, unplanned description. This is nothing but unplanned description. Simple. This is unplanned description. Maybe I can explain this here. So what is this unplanned description is all about? Right, unplanned description, meaning that is better explained here. Let me take this particular one. So again, row doesn't want. Let's remove this. So I have sequential number 1, 2. See this guy, after second element, he left, is no more available. Only 2 elements he's participated. Then element code is here. This DBA is something like a double blinded treatment. So SAS SDTM. Let me put it in proper order, then I can explain this. This is end date. So here is going to be your unplanned description. Only one thing you need to understand here is the element order won't be available for unplanned description. That is the only thing that you need to understand. What is that? The element number, that element order will not be present for unplanned description. That is the only thing you need to remember. All right. So you can see this. So this is going to be your approach. This is proper. So now we can see, so there is a subject ID because we are using the same subject 111, right? Let's use it. 111 here. This is going to be 222, 222, 222, 222. So what happened here is in the second study, the 111 guy, he started, he's part of the screening, and the second one is going to be double blinded treatment. After the double blinded treatment, he is not part of the study at all. You can see subject 1, 2, 3 completed only 2 elements of the trial, right? After that, you just go ahead with the double blinded treatment approach, right? So here, what happened here is they captured only the date. They haven't captured the date and time. They haven't captured the date and time. Since they haven't captured the date and time here, there is going to be an ambiguity. That ambiguity will be dealt only by the sponsors. That is, you can see here. When the sponsor choose to collect only the dates, they must deal with some such ambiguity in the algorithm they use to assign the elements of a box. Very, 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 very important. I told you clearly, generally any treatment started, for all the treatments, you need to capture both the date and time. If you don't capture both the date and time, only if you capture the date, then it is going to create a lot of ambiguity over there. When such ambiguity created, sponsor is responsible for dealing that particular one. Clear, everyone? Right? Now, next thing. You can see here, this particular guy, 456, in our case, it is 222. This particular guy, he received a wrong drug. He received a wrong drug. He's supposed to get a drug. You can see here, he received the wrong drug for the last 2 weeks of the double-blinded treatment. Right? That is, whatever the wrong drug treatment happened, that wrong drug treatment can be called it as, that can be called it as your unplanned description, or it is an unplanned element. For those unplanned elements, you are not going to have any order. The element order must be blank for them. This is what I want to mention this. Is that clear? Is that clear? What is that? For this particular one, you can see in the arm, In the ARM, it mentioned that first we need to go with the A. After that, we need to go with the rescue, RSC. Correct? But here, something went wrong. Here, drug B dispensed in error. Here, instead of going with RSC, they have given a different drug. When they're given a different drug, that will be called as an unplanned event. That unplanned event description you need to enter into your SCUPTES, right? So what I'm trying to say, it is called unplanned description. For all unplanned events, for unplanned events, we need to enter description under this column. Is that clear, guys? Most important things, for unplanned events, your element order, that is your TAETORD element order, must be null. Is that clear? What we need to enter, can you see that it becomes missing here? And for this, I have given the details. So for 222, if I want, I can write it. For 222, wrong drug has been provided, has been given, and hence we updated the element with unplanned description. Clear, everyone? Is this understandable, guys? I just want to make sure all of you are able to follow this. Can I have a quick confirmation on this particular one?
Yes, yes, Murli.
Any questions from anyone? All right. So the next one. So we have already covered all the details about your SC, SDTC, element order. All these are done. Then, as usual, we need to calculate the days. So what are the days? SCSDTY. SCSDTY. What is this? SCSDTY is nothing but it is going to be the common one, just like how we are doing in the other elements. We are going to do the same here as well. So what is this? This one, it is going to speak about subject elements study start day. So what is the other one? We also have end day. So we can call it as SCENDY. What is SCENDY? This is called subject element study end day. So you know the calculations, right? These calculations are going to be the same as your previous calculations. So how to calculate this particular one? Can someone please tell me the calculation? We did the same for subject visits. We did the same for demographics as well. DM STDY, DM ENDY, SV STDY, SV ENDY. Exactly. If it is on or after, what is that? It is STSDTC. On or after your treatment start date, RFSTDTC. In that particular case, I can say that SCSDTY is equal to SCENDTC, that is your subject element end date time and end date and time in character format minus RFSDTC plus 1. Correct? What is the other one? If SCDTC is before this, then it is going to be SCSDTY is equal to this. Am I correct? Oh, I just used the wrong one. SDT. SDT. Right? Now, if it is going to be SCNDTC, what I'm going to do? Only one change here. What is that particular change? If SCENDTC after this, then my END becomes, STD becomes END. Instead of start date, we are going to use the end date. That's the only difference. Am I correct, guys? That's all right. What are the other things that we need to discuss here? We also need to discuss about approach. What is approach? From the beginning in the clinical trials also we discussed about it. Approach is nothing but group of elements. That's all right. Can I say these are the total variables that are part of your SC domain? Let's have a quick look. Let's see whether we have completed all of them or not. Study identifier, domain, unique subject identifier, sequential number, element code, element, start date and time of an element, end date and time of an element, element order, that is as per your planned thing, approach, and planned description. All of them we have covered here. These are derived variables. These derived variables also we can include now. Any questions? All of you are able to follow this? Any questions from anyone? So what is the next thing which we need to discuss? Can I say the next one that we are going to discuss here is going to be CO domain. What is CO? Comments. Comments domain. CO is comments only, right? Correct? Can we discuss about that tomorrow? Tomorrow class is there. For sure I will take it. Yes, CO. All right. So let's discuss on this tomorrow. Once we complete this particular one, we will be good with the special purpose domains. Okay. In this one, there are a lot of calculations. So tomorrow we can expect to have some of the tasks. Okay. So once we complete this, we can go with the adverse events. The next one is going to be adverse events. Once we complete the adverse events is a bit little, I can say that a large domain. It may go with 2 days or maybe it will go to the 3 days as well. I'm not sure. Definitely it will go 2 or 3 days. It's a very big domain, right? So we need to discuss all of them in detail. So once we complete that particular one, so maybe we can go with the medical history, that is MH domain. After the medical history domain, that is also a bigger one, but once you're good with adverse events, it won't take much time. Then disposition, that is DS domain. Once the disposition is done, we will go with protocol deviation, that is nothing but DV. After the protocol deviation, we can go with clinical events. After the clinical events, it is going to be interventions. Interventions, again, we have a lot. We will start with CM first. Maybe it is difficult to remember for you at this particular point of time, but don't worry. So my next thing is going to be comments. Comments, after the comments, we can go with your adverse events. Just give me a second, guys. So without wasting much time, so let me also, I need to share these details with you, correct? So let me show the details. Just give me a second. I'll do it right away, otherwise I will forget this.
Murali,
Yeah. Yes, please.
I ask you one question.
Which one?
In real-time SDTM domain, how you write real-time project? How you write SDTM programming? You can take raw data sets in libname, directly copy the SDTM programming, right?
Hmm.
So
That's what.
you can explain that.
That is what your first project is. That is what the project that I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to give you the raw data set.
No, no,
Right?
no. I am telling in real time how can use the SDTM programming domain. How can use? How will write the programming?
That is what, boss. You are going to get provided with your DM data set. That is, the raw data set will be provided to you. Okay, that can be in an Excel format or that can be in a data set. This one they will provide. Your sponsor, that is nothing but you don't have a contact with the sponsor directly. Either your principal statistician or your biostatistician or simply your team lead is the one who is going to provide you the raw data. That is, hey, this is going to be the TM domain. For this particular TM domain, I have the Excel data with me. Or your DM raw data set is uploaded in a specific location, right? Use this particular one and give me my XPT file. The XPT file is going to be your final output. We are going to use Pinnacle and all, that is going to be the different story. For now, by giving the raw data, being a programmer, you are the one started writing the code. How you write the code? You are going to take three things into the consideration. You have your data set. Then, if you go with a DE domain, you need to make sure your final data set should have all these variables as per SDTM format. You're going to check what you have in your DM domain, your data set, the raw data set which is provided to you. If whatever the variables which are missing here from these variables list as per your SDTM implementation guide, you are going to start creating the code for building these variables. Once you create all the variables, whatever the final data set is there, that data set is going to be a SDTM compliance data set. That is what you are going to do. Have I answered your question, Rajan?
Yeah. Okay, sir. Okay.
See, they only provide you these data. With the knowledge of your SDTM implementation guide, with the knowledge about these variables, you are the one who is going to build all these variables. You're going to have your subject ID, you're going to have your investigator ID, investigator name, domain details. These will be available in your raw data set. Correct? You may not have your other. You need to create those details, and you need to ensure that those details as per your SDTM implementation. Right? And also, you also need to ensure that those will be as per the controlled definition. So what is allowed, what is not allowed, those also we need. That is what we need to do. And we need to do this for the every domain. So in the beginning of this class, I told you, I'm going to provide today these details. I will provide your raw data and I will provide your specifications. These are your specifications, right? Let's say if it is a DM domain, these are the variables. For each variable, what are the values that are passed? I will give you these details. Now, you need to prepare all these variables as per this particular variable. Clear? If you are able to do that, then you are able to work with the different domain. So I'm giving this assignment to you as a project one. Take your time and complete it. If not, just like how we discussed our assignment, we are going to build this particular one in the class. After that, for every domain, I'm going to provide you this particular data sets, raw data. But according to the raw data set, you guys need to create the final SDTM compliance data. Am I clear, guys? That is what we are learning now, right? The users is going to provide you the domain details, that is your raw details. You got the knowledge about your domains from the standard implementation guide. You know how to do the programming. By applying your programming knowledge plus your domain knowledge, you are going to create or you're going to convert your raw data set into SDTM compliant data set. That is what the work of your clinical SAS program are. Once we create this particular one, the next steps are going to be, we are going to use Pinnacle 21 we are going to use. We are going to create the XPT files that we can do later. So first we concentrate on the domain plus your knowledge. Clear? Any questions? Raja, did you get the answer or still you have any follow-up questions? Please feel free to ask me.
Okay, sir. Clear.
All right, guys. So let me upload this right after this particular one. I'm going to upload it. Kindly work on it. Thank you.